Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at Kagaribi 9. It was a super major that happened this weekend in Japan, and there was a bunch of insane runs, especially losers run. Like, this tournament had so many of those. For 13th place we have Tourney, Riziasu, Senra, and Jazo. 9th place was Hikaru, Kameme, level 1, and Gakt. 7th place was Hito and I'm. 5th place was Now and Ken. 4th place was Yoshidora. 3rd place was Zackray. 2nd place was Asimo, and 1st place was, of course, Akla. This tournament was incredible. We're going to be going over a couple runs in the entirety of the top 16, so let's get right into it. Before we talk about all the amazing runs that happened this weekend, because there was a couple of them, we got to talk about a couple underperformances, specifically from Shutone and Mia. Now, Shutone lost to Huto and Jazo, which aren't bad losses at all. Those are both very notable players, and still got wins on Jigaimo and Takara, but it is his lowest performance since, I think, Frostbite 2020 with a 17th place here, so that's kind of insane. It's not the end of the world, because again, it's still only 17th. It's kind of like when Leo got 9th at Summit. Everyone freaked out. It's not that big of a deal in retrospect in comparison to everything else, but considering how good Shutone is, this is like a massive underperformance. And then Mia also had a very big underperformance. Now, Mia hasn't been as consistent as Shutone, but is still a very good player. But he ended up getting a 49th place, losing to both Strix, and he also lost to Jigaimo in some pretty tough matchups, honestly. Game Watch can struggle in both those. That is Sephiroth and Palutena, but huge shouts to Strix because that is a massive upset, and Jigaimo as well, who's been very consistent as of late. Jigaimo also getting wins on Umatsu, as we said, Mia, and Repo. So I'm curious to see if Mia will pick up a secondary for Game Watch just to help with the consistency, or if he tries to tough it out with Game Watch, because I know that he's been leaning a bit more towards like maybe picking up Steve, but I don't know if he's actually going to try that full time. Game Watch is a character that you definitely don't need a secondary for, but it can always help to have a secondary. You can also always tough things out. Like, I think Light, best example, that he could tough out these really tough matchups. And Mia is the caliber of player to do that. He's had these wins on these like very good players before. He can bounce back, and he will, by the way. Like, a 49th place here is very rough for him, but he'll have good performances. He just had a rough Umabora as well with 9th place, so maybe just a bit of a rough stretch, but I imagine he bounces back pretty hard because he's obviously amazing. Still like top 20, 15 player in the world. Absolutely incredible. Same with Shutone, still a top 10 caliber player. Like, both Mia and Shutone, even though they didn't have great weekends, especially to their standard, they are still incredible players, and I think they'll be able to bounce back fairly quickly. The one I want to talk about is going to be Strix, just because I want to talk about Australian Smash, because it is very strong. He got wins on, as we said, Mia earlier, which is massive, and Chicken, and then lost to Shisho, and he lost to Senji, who also had one of the insane losers run of the tournament. So the losses aren't too bad. The wins are very good. Again, that Mia win is massive. It doesn't matter if the matchup's good for him. That is such an impressive player to beat. But Australia right now is looking like such a strong region. You just had Jadizzle, who had a very good Genesis, and Umabora doing incredibly well. Strix with this amazing performance, and the rest of Australia hasn't really traveled a ton. I think a lot of their top players haven't traveled like at all in this game. If we start seeing that, we could see them do some major damage, maybe even be contention for a major region. I feel like that's a lot of the minor regions in Smash right now. They have a couple people that are really strong hitters that we just don't get to see travel, because traveling for Smash is expensive and you don't really make any money. But I just want to say that, God, Australia is a very good region. They have a lot of very strong players. All the minor regions are getting very close. Like, the top 10 in Smash is closer than it's ever been, but the 100 to 50 levels also closer than it's ever been. Like, any of those players can definitely break into that top 10 echelon. And the minor regions are proving themselves super hard right now. Strix should be very happy with this run, and I think Australia is going to have a very good 2023. And the next player that I want to talk about is going to be Tara, who, even though he had a bit of a rough performance, he still had a very good losers run, and I want to highlight this because I think it just shows the tournament stamina that he has and the potential that he has as a player. He got upset very early on in pools, but then he got a bunch of good wins along the way, most notably SSR and SSSR and Rido. Those are both very good players in Japan. And even though he lost to Now as well, Now is not a bad loss at all, especially for this tournament where Now went crazy mode. So I think it shows consistency in contention for best Samus in the world. A bit of an underperformance in comparison to the Umabora run, but still a very good run. Just in general, you're getting some good wins along the way. You're showing that tournament stamina. I think it just shows that he has a lot of potential, a lot of promise as a player to not just fold right away. A lot of up-and-coming new players, they'll lose right away, they'll get upset, and then that is just it. I think him and Mia specifically show a lot of potential in that aspect. Tsubaki as well. I think they all have very good futures ahead of them, so even though it's a bit of a rough placement, I don't think this tournament should hurt Tora too much. And the final loser run I want to talk about before getting into top 16 is going to be Su, who had arguably one of the most impressive performances in the entire tournament. He got wins on Abadongo, Shiryuki, Meru, and Viseriman. Meru also beat Yoshi and Matsu that tournament, and Subo. Like, Meru had a very good one, so that's a great win. Su looked incredible, and he hasn't had these performances in a very long time. Like, these are all a bunch of really good wins to get. Sariman Shiryuki Abadongo specifically as well. Like, those are like your top 20, top 25 players in Japan. They're all amazing. So that's a massive run from Sue. I'm not sure if it was mainly Lucario or Terry. I am curious. I imagine that it was probably Terry, just because he did really, really well, and doing really, really well with Lucario is incredibly hard. But also, if anyone's going to have a performance like this with Lucario, it would be Sue, because he is just incredible with that character. So happy to see Sue have another amazing run again. I hope to see more of these from him in the future. First 13th place finisher is going to be a Tourney with wins on Gorika, Riziasu, and Suinoko, only losing to Asimo and Hikaru. Those are some very good losses and some really good wins along the way there. Tourney is just so consistent in Japan, just such a prominent threat there that you just have to worry about. So huge ups to him for that. The next one is Riziasu with wins on Sue and Nietono, only losing to Zackray. And then he also lost to, as the aforementioned, Atorie, but still got a win on Ution. So Riziasu, another player like Atorie, just incredibly consistent, such a threat. And the way he juggles characters in this game is like, it's actually unreal. Like, no one else does it like him. He plays like 30 characters in one tournament, unexaggerated. He just plays random at some point. Like, Riziasu is such an amazing player, and the amount of people that he can just counterpick super hard with his like 5 like mateable, like solo mateable characters. He's like 5 of them that are at that level, but then just having like 4 of them as a secondary. It's just actually unreal. Riziasu is so good. Very excited for his 2023 year, and same thing with Atorie. I think when Atorie pops off, he just looks unstoppable. The other side of bracket, we had Senra, who had arguably the most impressive losers run of the tournament, getting wins on Noi and Huto, as well as Luminous, like, and a bunch of other players as well. He had such a big losers run. Like, he lost early on in pools, and I think this shows, especially considering he's such a young player, the amount of tournament stamina that he already has is pretty insane. I think it just gives him a lot of promise for his future in 2023. Also, this is all with Puff, which can sometimes just get rocked by certain matchups. So, like, this is incredibly impressive. Senra should be very happy with that. I think he definitely made a name for himself this event, as well as Jazzo, someone that I think a lot of people are underrating, because sometimes when Jazzo wins, he wins hard. He also beat Luminous, as well as beating Shutone. This Shutone win is crazy good. That is such an amazing win. Only losing to Now and Aquila. Aquila win, like, literally doesn't hurt you at all, and the Now one probably won't hurt, just considering how good Now's been playing as of late. Like, he also had one of the runs of the tournament. So Jazzo, this Shutone win is a massive for him. This is just such insane. I think it proves the caliber of player that he actually is, that he can be. And Senra, just this stamina in the loser run is very impressive. All the 13th place finishers had like incredible runs for different reasons, honestly. But speaking of insane losers run, we got to talk about Gact, who went absolutely crazy. He lost to Taco Man in pools, but then beat Munikin, TKM, Agoski, Shisho, and Senra before losing to Hito in a very close set. Gact is one of Japan's best, most consistent players, and he just had this loser run. It's unreal. Umabora, or rather, Kagaribi, was the tournament for losers runs. I feel like every single player that's in this 13th to 16 range either got a massive upset to get there or had an insanely good loser run, and Gact was definitely one of those loser run players, just beating a bunch of very good players that also got a bunch of good wins at the end. Like TKM, for example, got a bunch of amazing wins, so Gact should be very happy with that run. And the other one is going to be Level 1, who did all of his run in the winner's side of bracket, where he beat Huto, Repo, and Mutakid. Those are all incredibly good wins, only losing to Ken, and I think it was Now. Yeah, only losing to Ken and Now, so pretty good losses. Level 1, highest placing Toon Link at this event, which is pretty interesting. I don't know if Sigma was in attendance, but still kind of crazy that there's 2 insane younglings, or rather Toon Links in Japan, just popping off. Super happy for both of them. They're incredible players, so very good run from Level 1, and Gact, they should be very happy with that. A loser's run and a winner's run to show the both sides of it. Our next 9th place finisher is going to be Hikaru, who just continually proves to be incredibly consistent in Japan with a heavy use of Donkey Kong. Again, I still don't understand. I think it was a lot more Roy this tournament, if I remember correctly, but I could definitely be wrong about that. He got wins on Kome and Utorie, which are very good, only losing to Aim and Kameme, which are not bad losses at all. Hikaru is like such a consistent threat in Japan, definitely top 20 there, probably top 10 right now. He is just looking so good in Japan, of course. And then Kameme, who also had his run through the loser side. A bit of an underperformance from him, where he still got wins on Suinoko, Leah, and Hikaru. So, like, is it really that much of an underperformance? Also got only lost to Asimo and Zachary, which are very good losses to have, especially at this tournament. Like, Kameme had some rough losses, but he still looked very good. Also brought out the pit this tournament, which is, like, interesting that this was the tournament of the pit. Obviously, we'll get to Zachary in a bit, but kind of funny how that worked out. But Kameme, bit of an underperformance, but I think he should still be happy with it. Same thing with Hikaru. These are both top 8 caliber players, but a 9th place finish here is still pretty good. And our 7th place finishers are Hiro and I'm. Hiro is a little bit more typical to be in this spot. He got wins on Musashi, TKM, Maikai, who's a very, very good All-Mar player that had probably the run of his life, and Gact. That Gact win is amazing, and he only lost to Aquila and Now, which are not bad losses at all, especially the Aquila one. Like, that basically doesn't hurt you at all. Hiro's kind of always within this very consistent top 8 range. He's just such a prominent player in Japan right now. Whenever he goes to something, he does well, but I'm or now is probably the talking point of this top 8, at least in terms of like the player, not the character, because I'm had such a good run. He got wins on Futari, Masha, Nietono, and Hikaru, only losing to Yoshidora and Zackray. I have no idea how I'm beat Futari. I have no clue. That matchup is probably Sheik's worst matchup. It's Ice Climber's Sheik, by the way, which is absolutely abysmal. I don't know if he used his secondary, but I've never seen I'm play anyone else. If he did Ice Climbers against like a top 3 Ice Climber in the world, that is absolutely insane. Huge shout out to I'm for that. And then Hikaru and Nietono Masha ones are also very, very good. I also think Nietono is a bit of a rough match for him because I think Pichu could be a little tough, but like just a bunch of tough matchups that he overcame. With Sheik is playing good. Sheik is very, very strong. Did it mainly in the winner side as well. So huge shout out to Naim rather, and Hiro. They had amazing performances, really, really good wins along the way, and the losses were like amazing for them. So that's a big performance for both of those players. Our 5th place finishers of Ken and Now also had some very good runs. Ken's run had wins on Chanren, Now, Shisho, level 1, and only lost to Akola and Zachary. Those are amazing losses, and the wins along the way are pretty good as well. Now probably being the strongest one of that, especially considering how good his weekend was. And Ken is he's been looking back in form. He had a bit of a rough patch there, but he seems like he's bounced back a little bit. This is an amazing performance for him. A lot more Sonic this tournament than I thought I'd see, because thank God Sephiroth is just so much worse than Sonic. The Sonic goes absolutely crazy. He used it all Sonic versus Aquila, and even though he didn't quite win the set, it was doable, which is always signs like being doable versus Aquila, especially when he's in Japan, is like a very good sign. So Ken had an amazing event, but now, oh my lord, now played out of his mind. He got wins on Kananebe, Tora, Shinji, Maikai, and Jazo, and level 1, and Hiro. That is so many insane wins. Tora and Hiro probably being the most impressive ones out of that list, only losing to Ken and Yoshidora. Very good losses along the way as well. Interesting that he played Dr. Mario versus Yoshidora. Game 1, I wish he didn't do that, because he definitely could have won that set without that Doc pick. I understand the logic behind it, though. It's like Doc's combos are a lot less like long, so you don't need to worry about the double jump armor as much. You still hit as hard, and you still kind of lose in the same aspects that you do with Mario. I still would rather Mario just because that character is so much better, but it's interesting that he tried it. Now is looking very good. Kurama's already having to defend his title of best Mario in the world, and he's only had it for like a couple months, but like it's crazy that there's so many good Marios. Again, characters that I feel like shouldn't be doing well in the meta because of all the swords and campers are doing incredibly well. Mario's like risen up. We've had a bit of a renaissance with this character. I hope to see Now and Kurama and Dark Wizzy and all the good Mario players that haven't got the chance to show how good they are yet prove how good they are. Just have an amazing season, because 2023 is looking like a very good year for both Now and Ken. Yoshidora with a 4th place finish that has become more and more accustomed to. Like Yoshidora is just so consistent. Wins on Keru, Takai, Neo, I'm, and Now, only losing to Asimo and Zackray in both very doable sets. Yoshidora is easily one of Japan's top threats, so now definitely top 3 within Japan at least, or maybe not definitely top 3, but definitely top 5, because you have Aquila, Shutone, him, and then I don't even know who your 4th place or 5th place would be. Probably Mia or Proto if he attended stuff. Like, it's insane how close level play is in Japan right now, and Yoshidora has definitely cemented himself as one of those major threats in the region. One of the best Yoshis in the world. Not one of the best. Clearly the best Yoshi in the world. Doing it like literally no one else is. I don't know how he's so good with this character. Granted, Yoshi's very, very good, but he is doing things that like should not be allowed. He is just such a consistent threat. When he's playing well, he looks like he's a top 10 player, and to be honest, he probably is a top 10 player, because Yoshidora is absolutely incredible. I had him as winning the entire tournament, so I guess a little bit of underperformance. I think he was also seeded a little bit higher. I think he was seeded 2nd, so technically an underperformance, but like he should still be very happy with this. He's absolutely amazing, and he keeps having these insanely consistent runs. And our 3rd place finisher is Zachary, who had unarguably the most impressive lose run of the entire tournament, and there was a lot of impressive losers runs at this tournament. He lost to Rimu very early on, and then lost to Asimo in the losers finals, but along the way he got wins on Choco, Lunia, Nanchan, Umeki, Neo, Riziyasu, Kameme, Ayam, Ken, and Yoshidora, and he did it all with Pit. Now, 2 things that we got to talk about. 1, Pit is not good. Zachary is just better than everyone. Pit is like not a great character. He's still a mid tier, maybe high tier, but I'm still gonna lean towards mid tier unless I keep saying this consistently. Zachary is just playing at such an insanely high level that he's just better playing these people. He is just beating them. He's calling them out super hard. His conversions are still amazing though, and we have seen a bit of strength from Pit. Like Zachary was jab blocking people with down air, which did like 20% for the jab block alone, which is pretty crazy stuff. His option coverage on the platforms was amazing. He was looking incredibly strong this tournament, back to form. And then the second thing is just like, is this going to be Zachary's character now? Because apparently this pit is only 2 weeks old, which is kind of insane. But like, does he use the main pit? Is this like a Sora thing where it was like one time? Does he like maybe put in the pocket as a secondary? Do we have other characters in the secondary for it? I'm very curious to see what this means for Zachary. But it's like, it's nice to see him have such an amazing bounce back performance after a bit of a rough Umabora. Just having this insane lose run is going to be very good for his mental and also very good for the rankings. So Zachary should be incredibly happy with this run. The pit is a bit of a test, and it worked very, very well. And our second place finisher of Asimo with the Kagaribi Blessing got wins on Gorika, Passeriman, Atorie, Kameme, Yoshidora, and Zackray, and only lost to Akala, but he took a set off of Akala. That is a big deal. And he definitely could have won the reset. He just sold game 3 super hard, SD to 0. Very, very unfortunate, but Asimo was looking incredible. Got that Kagaribi Blessing. This was his breakout tournament, Kagaribi 7, so he should be very, very happy with this. This is an amazing run, and Asimo is just another top competitor in Japan that is super consistent, is quietly snuck up to being like a top 20, 25 player in the world. I don't know what he was actually ranked at the end of the alt ranking season, but like Asimo is absolutely unreal. One of the best, actually definitely the best Ryu in the world, one of the best Shotos in the world. There's so many amazing FGC players that it's actually unreal, and Asimo is spearheading that charge, looking very strong. One of the only people, again, in Japan, taking a set off Akala is a big deal. You can't just do that. That's just not a normal thing people do. He played amazing this tournament, definitely could have won it, and I think Kagaribi 10, maybe even the next major he goes to, doesn't even have to have that Kagaribi Blessing. Asimo could be a strong contender to take it. But at the end of the day, this is a Japanese tournament, and there is always one thing that is definite. It doesn't matter how well Asimo's playing. It doesn't matter if Zakray's playing Pit. Akala wins. He looked very good this tournament. Wins on Raido, Noi, Jazo, Hiro, Ken, and Asimo twice, only losing to Asimo in that reset, which is still a very, very big deal. It showed a little bit of weakness in there. Asimo was dealing with the cards and my cards very well, but hey, Kagaribi 7 Grand Finals, it's the same thing. Akala wins it, Asimo gets second. This was arguably Akala's breakout tournament before, but he won a couple big like regionals or locals before that, so it's like actually the breakout, but this was definitely his first big major win, and he should be very happy to get that run back. Akala was looking just dominant. He's just such an amazing player. Like, even though he dropped that set to Asimo, the games that he was winning were unreal. He was pulling off some of the best combos that he's ever done in tournament. Multiple zero deaths happened in the sets with just Asimo alone. Like, Akala looked very strong in this tournament. He should be very happy with himself. He is clearly so dominant in Japan. He's more dominant in Japan than any other player in any other region, except like maybe T in Europe for some reason. Like that, he's insane over there. Proto in the US as well, I guess. But Akala is absolutely unreal. 100% deserving this win. He played out of his mind. Bounced back from that rough Genesis performance, which was a 7th place, by the way. So like that just shows how good he is. That's considered rough. And I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If there's any runs that I didn't go over, because there's almost guaranteed a couple that I missed because this tournament was unreal, please let me know down below. I'll be sure to go over them, how I think the players did, all that kind of stuff. I thank you guys for watching. The sport's been absolutely unreal lately. Thank you guys for everything, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.